I'm happy to introduce our fabulous graduate program director, Jill McDonough, who will introduce the program to you.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jill. Welcome. I'm delighted that people are here. People from the future, because we're recording this and putting it on the interwebs. Also, welcome. Thanks for coming. This is an information session for the MFA program in creative writing at UMass Boston. I'm Jill McDonough. I'm a poet, and I'm the director of the program. But just for another like 2 years, we all take turns because everybody would rather spend more time with students than do this administrative job. So that's the way we keep it fair. I have written a lot of books of poems. I've won a lot of awards, and I teach in carceral spaces a lot. And those are kind of like the things that I care about me and my work as a writer. I teach the MFA poetry writing workshop and other workshops, including documentary poetics. And I teach a class that I designed called um, Writing on Local Issues, Arts, and Culture. So I teach undergrads and I teach graduates, but mostly what I do is work with the graduate students in the program. We've got Shenyang Feng here. He's another poet. Hello.
Hello.
Jen, you've already met, and I think a fiction writer is going to be coming later, but we'll see. And I'll let those guys talk too. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about first was how important we think it is that everybody gets to develop their own voice and do their own writing in our program. I think it's the most important thing about us is that we're not trying to make anybody write like us. We want to help you figure out what you want your writing to be like, and do what we can to make it what you want it to be. A couple things about UMass Boston. It's the only public university in Boston. It's the most diverse campus in New England. When you go to the undergraduate graduating ceremony, it's very moving because they have people stand up if they're the first in their family to graduate. And tons of them do. And I'm in tears every single time, like standing there in my cap and gown, crying for everybody because you're so proud of them. It's a really amazing place to walk around. The university mission is twofold: to serve these students and to provide resources to a large variety of graduate programs, master's programs, and PhD for research, scholarship, and creative activities. We like our MFA program because it's unique as a 3-year program, giving students an additional year to focus on writing as well as coursework. And if you want to teach, we're going to help you teach. The curriculum for the first 2 years is a workshop in your genre, fiction or poetry, and a second course, it could be a lit course from the MA program or what we call a creative writing elective, like that documentary poetics class that I teach. Shenyang teaches a course on the long poem. These are courses related to creative writing, but they're not workshops necessarily. Examples of creative writing electives include a poetics course, my documented poetics, a course on the lyric. There's a memoir course, a course on literary and small press publishing that Professor Oskald Milnichuk teaches, a course on techniques of fiction that John Fulton teaches. That's a craft-based literature course focusing on reading literature from the perspective of a working fiction writer. We have an array of other creative writing courses that we offer on a one-time basis that are designed around whatever we're interested in. These have included a course on writing and publishing book reviews, a literary translation course, and a digital poetics course. In the third year of the program, students work one-on-one with faculty thesis directors to write and revise a creative thesis in fiction or poetry. This is one of the reasons we designed it to be a 3-year program, to give substantial time to students just to work on the thesis for that last year. All of our students receive some financial support in exchange for 9 hours of work per week for an assistantship. All first-year students are assigned to an internship-like assistantship working for a small literary press or an arts organization in and around Boston. This is another aspect of the program that makes us unique. We like to connect people with the community because Boston's got a really rich literary community as well as a great place for going to school. The first year is meant to, in part, to give you the skills in the literary arts that will be important for your CV and give you connections as you go forward. So you might work with Aerosmith Press or Hanging Loose Press, which is based in Brooklyn through one of its founding editors, Mark Pollock. He lives in Boston, and you'd work for him. We also work with 826 Boston, a literary organization started by fiction writer Dave Eggers. Consequence Magazine, Black Ocean Press. These are the kinds of literary connections that we help you make. Finally, we have our own literary magazine, entirely run by students, the Breakwater Review, which publishes poetry, fiction, essays, and interviews with established poets and writers. Our teaching and pedagogy program, for financial support, many students teach their own creative writing courses in their second and third years. All of the students who teach need to complete the pedagogy program before they go into the classroom. So we all take turns teaching the teaching of creative writing. You can also take the teaching of composition. Once you've taken that class, then you work with a cohort of your fellow students, fellow grad students and faculty to design your own syllabi that then you go and teach our undergraduates. You cover the practice and theory of teaching in creative writing or in the composition class. And then there's an intern seminar, which you sign up, you get credit during your first year of teaching, which is like a teaching support group. I'm doing it right now. So last spring, I taught the teaching of creative writing. And then over the summer, I worked with the students that were going to become the new teachers. And now once a week, we meet and get together and talk about whatever it is that comes up. And I go and I observe their classes so that I can write like a 7-page letter of recommendation. So someday they'll be able to like use that to get a job. We currently have 5 core faculty who've published many, many books of poetry and fiction between them. And they've won all kinds of stuff. In poetry, we've got me and we've got Cheng Yang Fang. In fiction, we have a novelist, essayist, and short story writer, Osgold Melnichuk, who's also an editor and founder of Aerosmith Press. And we've got John Fulton, fiction writer and former director. We also have a visiting fiction writer who directs theses, teaches workshops and other courses. Visiting writer right now, it's Shubha Sundar, and that'll be true next year too. In the past, those have included Jennifer Hay, Vanny Howe, ZZ Packer, Joan Wickersham, and we pick a different one like every other year. We're a little program. We don't want to get bigger. We take about 10 students a year, 5 in fiction and 5 in poetry. So at any given time, the program has 30 students and 10 in each of those years. There's a 6-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you know us all. Like we spend a lot of time together. A little bit about our alumni. As you know from reading the invitation, alumni are publishing widely in large New York houses, wonderful small presses. They're winning major awards, as well as publishing in some of the most prestigious literary journals in the country, like the Kenyon Review, Plowshares, The Sun. They're also running arts organizations, their own writing consultancy companies. They're editors at places like Beacon Press, and have recently been working as literary agents, as well as teaching in and around Boston and as far away as Taiwan, and as tenure-track professors across the country. We're so proud of them. We love hearing from them. I just worked with a bunch of undergraduates this year to send out a survey to our alumni, and I was like, if everybody, there's going to be a lottery, and I'll send you homemade jam and all of our signed books if you win the lottery and so fill out the survey. And so all these people were like, I want the jam. And also like, what's up? Like letting me, here's a picture of my baby. Oh, look, here's a link to a poem I just published. I'm like, oh God, I love you guys. A word about Boston as a literary and arts community. Many institutions for arts and lit in the city, including some of the country's best independent bookstores in and around the city. There's countless reading series and lecture series involving creative writers. There's more than you could possibly do in Boston. I love to take students to the Boston Athenaeum, which is a historic private library. I love to go to the Woodbury Poetry Room, which is at Harvard, but anybody can go. It's a poetry library also. And our alums like run, and even current students, MP Carver, current student working with Mass Poetry, to run the Boston Book Festival. Daniel Jones is running that too. The guy who's running the events at the Cambridge Public Library is another person who used to be a poetry student with us. It's really, I don't know. I love how we've been doing this long enough that now we sort of run Boston. Like everybody knows everybody, and it's a pleasure. I think that's all the stuff that I've got that is just written down here. So now we can finally just like let you guys ask us questions. I'm gonna hand it over to Sheng Yang right now so that he can talk a little bit about his teaching, and then yeah, it'll be up to you guys because we want to answer your questions. As well as have Jen tell you all of the boring stuff about deadlines and what you need to include in your application. Sheng Yang!
Good. I'll talk briefly about my experience at UMass Boston. I'm a new faculty here, and I'm loving here, loving Boston, and loving UMass. And I'm currently teaching for the MFA poetry workshop. So I will put up packets of readings each week. For example, the first week we read love poems, the second week narrative poetry, third week elegies. So each week you will write a poem based on the topic we discuss during that week, because I believe without reading, your writing will never improve. So it's even for a creative writing workshop, it's heavy reading. You will explore your artistic, aesthetic boundaries, but also at the same time, I'm proposing different kinds of classes. For example, next semester, I'm going to teach the long poem class because a few students has expressed their interest in studying long poems or maybe want to write book-length poems. So each week we're going to read a book-length poem. I don't know how we're going to survive 15 weeks of reading book-length poems every week, but we're going to make it somehow. And I think one of the beautiful things of this campus and of our program is the diversity of students. I have in my class right now students from Africa, from Europe, and also I have students who are retired architects, retired English, full English professors, etc. So we have a diverse student body, and that become the diversity in style, writing, in the classroom, and we benefit from reading each other's work and discussing each other's work. Um, and recently, because I have connections with other MFA programs, I hate to say it, but a lot of
You love
stuff
to
I've
say it.
heard, it's horror story, but no, it's horror story. But I think in this program, people love each other. Really, the students have a wonderful relationship. Next week is my last class, which will be, oh no, this week, tomorrow, my last class with the MFA. It's going to be a
The
potluck party.
semester flew.
I know the semester flew. And I recently graduated from the MFA a few years ago, not that recent, but I think one of the two most important things you have to think about going to an MFA is time and space, where you are and how long you're in the program.
Mm.
So we have a 3-year program, and I think it's a real advantage. 2 years of producing your poems, your fictions, and 1 year alone putting the book together, discussing the manuscript with the faculty, and to at the same time try out some publishing, send out your manuscript to contests and presses. I think that time is really, really important. You don't want to rush your experience. What Jill talked about, developing your own voice. And the second thing, as I said, is the space. Boston is the best, I think, space for MFA program. I don't know. I right before moving here, I was in Walla Walla, Washington. There was nothing to write about for that place. I mean, beautiful mountain for sure, but I had not much to write about. I started doing translations, and I had a book just published on translations.
A
But
beautiful book.
thank you. But also at the same time, I think Boston is the perfect place. For New York, you're hanging out, you're partying too much, you don't have time to write. So Boston, you have time to write, and there are numerous options for you to go out to network, to gather materials for your writing. So that's my part. And I'm excited to read your manuscript, to read your portfolio, read your applications. in this coming season.
I love looking at the applications of Shenyang. Like last year we did it at a bar and we're gonna do it again this time because you read them all and then you get together and fight. And you're like, did you see this one? Oh my God, look at poem number 5. Like the gossipy fighting and choosing is a real pleasure. I love being able to like come in with my ranked list and then be like, oh my God, you're right. Uh, do you guys have questions before Jen takes over with a slideshow about application deadlines and stuff like that? What genre are you guys, Jordan and Elizabeth?
I'm Elizabeth. I'm a poet. And I do have a question because Sheng Yang mentioned that you have some older people in your classes. Is everyone who's present in the classes and enrolled in the MFA?
Yes.
Yes. So
I
you have some age diversity there too. I feel like sometimes when we're talking about diversity, age diversity gets overlooked, but that's an important one for me.
Yes, I mean, in my class, not only the MFA program, but also the undergraduate program. And this is part of what I love about UMass Boston. We have a lot of untraditional students, and they bring in their unique perspective, their life experience in their work. So I'm always excited to work with those students. So yeah, in MFA classes, we have right now, I have a retired architect I talked about. A tenured English professor who decided to become a poet. And in my undergraduate class, I had a veteran and also a retired photographer. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you'll be in a classroom of people who have a lot of varied experiences that they bring to the page. And that's one of the reasons that we love to put together a cohort and think about like whose writing is going to be responding to who's going to be a great reader for somebody else. And lots of times that does have to do with like how like making sure that there's enough diversity that like if you're 24 you're not going to feel like you're the only one, but also if you're 40 you're not going to feel like you're the only one.
Perfect.
I had a question as well. I'm also, I'm also a what do you call fiction and poet. But what is the like I guess background of most of the writers who come into the MFA program? Like, do they come in already having like a degree in writing or English literature or something, or where they come
No,
from?
that's interesting. I mean, everybody's got an undergrad degree, but they're and I feel like they're mostly in the humanities. Singing, do you have to have a feeling about that? I feel like mostly there's a lot of like English and history majors, but there are also a lot of people who like it's been 12 years since it's been longer, decades since they got their undergraduate degree. So there are a lot of people who've like they've already spent some time like doing community. There's like something in town called Grub Street, which is a place where they have literature classes for the community that are not for credit. And that's one of the places where I go and do Submit-a-thon, where I invite our students and also community members to come and watch me submit work to magazines so that they're not scared to do it themselves. Uh, but there are people who like have just taken a few classes here and there. There are people who have spent more time thinking about their writing. There's also some people that are just straight out of undergraduate. But I wouldn't say that I can't think of like how to describe like our students' previous background because it's so varied. But yeah, I think most people like their degree is in the humanities.
Yeah, you need to have a undergraduate degree. It doesn't matter which major you are. I mean, I was an engineering major and now a poet, so it really doesn't matter.
I was
Got it.
pre-med
Thank you.
for like 2 seconds before I was like, I hate this. I really want to write poems instead.
Yeah.
Same.
Eric, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. So for those of us that it's been a while since we were getting our undergrad degree, I don't know how your application is, but I know that sometimes it requires references. I can't go back to somebody anymore that can talk about my academic experience. And I don't really have a lot of people that can talk about my writing experience because I write for myself. How do we handle those kinds of things, those references or whatever?
I mean, in terms of what we're looking at, we just want to make sure that you're not going to be mean. You know what I mean? Like we're looking for like if you've got somebody that you've worked with for a long. I've read a lot of letters from people who are like that. This is my employee, or I'm the commanding officer of this person who's applying. Like so, somebody who's worked with you enough that knows that you're not
Okay.
going to be an asshole to the other students. That's what we're interested in. Like I love hearing from other professors about how the student was terrific in a class, but like that's not what the letter of rec is for me. Like I can judge your writing myself.
Okay.
I can from your you write a statement and you also submit your creative work. So that kind of is covered. I feel like the university has ideas about what the letters of rec are for. Like they just need to check the boxes that like you were able to get somebody to write you a letter. But in terms of like what I'm looking for, it's just to prove that you're not like mean.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah. Other questions? Want to dive in with Jen Skinnin? Oh, wait, let me look over at the while Jen pulls up the her screen slides. I'm just looking at the chat really quick. It looks like no questions. Okay, cool. Oh, except that Valerie wants Sheng Yang to talk shit about other MFA programs.
Well, it was figurative. There was no.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Jen, you want to like take over
Yes.
a little
Okay.
bit? All right, cool. I'll shut off my mic, but I'm here and I'll look in the chat.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't think we can gossip about other programs. This is being recorded after all. Can you all see my slides again? I accidentally took them down a moment ago. Okay. All right, great. So applying to the program. So now you've gotten a little bit of a taste of what the program is about. Unfortunately, we don't have a fiction writer here to talk about the fiction workshops, but you do have an understanding of how the program is run. So to apply to the program, you'll need 2 substantive letters of recommendation. And again, like Jill just pointed out, this is more to gain an understanding of how you're going to fit within your incoming cohort. Because this is a very workshop heavy program. For the first 2 years of the program, you're in workshop together. So that's really important. So it doesn't have to be former teachers. You'll need to have a 3 to 5 page personal statement. So that's going to be focusing on your reading life and your development as a writer. All of this is on our website as well, by the way, but it's good to just kind of go through it. In your application, you want to indicate whether you're applying as a fiction writer or a poet. If you wanted to apply for both, then you would have to submit 2 pieces as your writing sample. I think, Jordan, you might have mentioned that, or was it somebody else? Someone else here had already mentioned
Jordan's
that.
a fiction writer and a poet.
Right. So if you want to apply as either a fiction writer or a poet, or as one or the other, you can submit writing, fiction writing, and manuscripts of poetry. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. When you go to our webpage, there's a little button there that you can click on to go directly to the application. One thing I like to remind people about when they're applying to this program is that you want to scroll to creative writing MFA. So don't go directly to the M for MFA. Don't go to English, although we're housed in the English department, but go to C so that you can find creative writing MFA, and that'll make it a little bit easier and less frustrating. Okay, the priority application deadline is February 1st, and I want to stress how important it is to make this deadline. Some decisions are going to be made relatively shortly after that deadline, so you want to be in that first pool of applications. So if you have any questions about that, you can email our department. But yeah, that's going to put you in the best position to get into the program and to be able to study with this people. Okay, funding. This is unfortunately a really important topic. So all of our accepted students do receive partial funding, and that's in the form of a graduate assistantship. And Jill kind of already went through this a little bit. That includes about 9 hours of work per week during the semesters, and it also includes a 50% tuition waiver. In addition to the tuition waiver, you have an annual stipend of approximately $12,000, and that's distributed on a bi-monthly basis during the semesters. So you can see it works out to be about $604 twice a month. And that's like getting a paycheck. You can have it applied directly to your student account, or you can receive it like a paycheck. Students who are interested in 2 assistantships can apply for a second assistantship. That's on a semester by semester basis. So one thing to keep in mind is that it's not guaranteed. So if you get 2 assistantships in one semester, there's no guarantee you're going to have 2 the following semester. But we do try to give students 2 assistantships if that's what they're looking for. The best way to set yourself up to get 2 assistantships is to become a teaching fellow. And Jill also touched on how you do that. So there are some steps that you need to follow. You'd take a pedagogy class. Ideally, you'd want to do this in your first year so that you're setting yourself up for your second and third year in the program. And you can take a class in teaching of creative writing, or you can take teaching of composition. We have had some MFA students who've done both. And that that's your choice. You can make that decision whether or not that's something you want to do. After you take that class, or even while you're taking, if it's a spring course, you'd be applying during the spring semester before the year that you'd want to teach. So if you were hoping to teach in your second year, then you'd apply to the program as a teaching fellow in the spring before. So it would be spring 2027 if you're coming into the program next year. And then if you get a class, the MFA office will enroll you in a teaching seminar. The teaching seminar technically begins in the fall, but your work actually kind of starts in the summer. So you'd be meeting with your cohort of new students and a faculty mentor a few times over the summer to go over some lesson plans, to go over syllabi construction, so that you're not just walking in blind your first day of class. And then during the semester, you're meeting with that same group of people on a more regular basis. And that's mostly for support and so that you can, brainstorm ideas with each other. So that's, again, the nuts and bolts of the funding piece. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? Okay. All right. And here is our email address. If you have questions, please email, reach out at any point, and we can help answer your questions or point you in the direction of somebody else who can answer them.
I'm gonna answer some questions in the chat, but Valerie's asking, what's the total tuition?
Okay.
Is there like a
total tuition? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Is going to vary. It's going to be dependent on if you're an in-state student, an out-of-state student, an international student, and the tuition costs do change slightly from year to year. So the best way to determine what your tuition would look like would be to go to our bursar's office webpage, and they have a tab that you can click on for tuition and fees. And if you click there, then you can take a look and see what the residency requirements are and where you fall into that.
Jen, can you find that link and share it in the chat while I go through and answer some of these other questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I found the link. I'll just put it in the chat.
Oh,
thank you. You're an angel.
I'll open it up so that you can share. There we go. I'll put the address in the chat for the bursar's office.
Great. I saw somebody Jordan wanted to know about what the reading life means. So we want to understand the relationship between like how you became a writer, what it was that you read that you like how your reading informs your writing. So when you're telling us who you are as a person, and instead of just being like, tell us about you, we thought it was easier to be like, tell us about your reading life, so that you've got like a handhold instead of just a wide open topic. But yeah, it's just a way for us to get to know you a little bit better. Like, why do you want to go to grad school? What's so great about literature anyway for you? Uh, Grace wanted to know if it's okay if the app is in by February 1st, but the recommenders and other, yeah, like transcripts take a long time. All of that other shit takes a long time. As long as you get your part in, then we can look at we need to see your writing sample, and we need to see your essay, and then we can figure out the rest of the stuff later. But those are the things that you for sure need to have in by the first. The extra materials, they tend to come in really slow, and it's not your fault that your university isn't sending the transcript when you want it to, or that your recommender was asleep. Valerie wants to know if it's possible to teach world literature instead of composition. Nope. We only, the relationships that we have with the universities, like other people are teaching the world lit classes. I'm not sure if there are grad students that are doing that. I think that's just like tenured faculty. So the composition sections and creative writing undergraduate sections are the sections that our graduate students teach. Does that answer your question there, Valerie? You can holler at me in the chat if I missed something. Steve wants to know if any of the classes are remote. Nope, not anymore. Wow, man, that really sucked during COVID. We don't like that. We don't want to do that anymore. We like being together. Valerie wants to know about Inse. Shang Yang, bless you, Shang Yang. The full semester tuition waived for I got it. Adding chat scrolls the chat. Elizabeth says, is the full semester tuition waived for students with 2 assistantships? Jen, we try to make sure that only one person talks about money so that we never lie to you by making a mistake. So Jen talks about the money now.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I was about to respond to another question. So you're asking if that's a full tuition waiver if you have 2 assistantships?
Is the full semester tuition waived for students with 2 assistantships? Is Elizabeth's question.
Yes, it's a full tuition waiver.
Thank you.
That doesn't include fees, but it's the all of the tuition would be waived for that semester that you have the 2 assignments. I also see that there's a question here about reciprocity with the University of Maine. We do have a tuition break for people who are coming from New England states, Maine being one of them. So, and that's much closer to the in-state tuition.
Good eye, good eye. Valerie has a smiley face. Grace has, thank you. Cheryl says, the totality of my professional writing was for business writing, not creative writing. Does that matter? It doesn't matter what you've done before, but I'm not interested in seeing a bunch of business letters in your sample. Like, I want to see poems in your sample. They want to see fiction in your sample. So your writing sample should be what the genre that you want to apply in. But like what you did with the rest of your life, like, we don't care. We just want to read your writing. Does that help, Cheryl? I see you nodding. All right, good.
Thank you.
Do we organize monthly readings for MFA students? I don't think it's monthly. Like, I feel like we end up doing like there's a semester by semester one that the Breakwater people do at Grub Street. And then there's like people go to the Cantab. There are a lot of like community things that people go to. But I don't organize, the faculty isn't organizing that stuff. That students are organizing that stuff, and the other literary organizations that they're part of. Valerie. And Anya says, what do you find to be the most important or compelling part of the application? Your writing. Like for Shenyang and me, it's your poems. For John and Nusgold, it's going to be your fiction. Like it's that's the first thing that we look at. Like yeah, that's what we want to see. And Valerie would love to come. Great. We'd love to have you, Valerie. Other questions?
I have two more questions. If
you can have 100 more questions, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you. The first is for the work sample. Do you have a preference in terms of work that is more polished and maybe has gone all the way through the publication cycle versus something that the writer may be in the process of pushing forward into something that is not quite as developed, or they're not as certain about, or
I don't feel like I have a preference with that. Like I guess I'm more interested in like what's the writing that you're most proud of?
okay.
Like or what do you feel like is representative of what it is that you want to be doing? Like your writing is going to change so much over the 3 years
Right.
that you don't it's not like you're sending me something and then I'm going to be like, "But wait a minute, you promised you were going to write villanelles forever." Like that's not what's going on. I just want to see like where you're at.
Perfect. And then my other question is about transcripts. So I've done professional development for so many years that I have transcripts from probably like 9 or 10 different places. What transcripts do you actually care about? Like, obviously, you're going to want to see my undergraduate transcripts.
I think that's it.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah, like I don't, Shengyang, do you care? I don't care. Like,
No.
I mean, the university makes us tick off these boxes. You have to have a transcript submitted. You have to have a, blah, blah, blah. But like, once you check those boxes, like, we really care about your writing.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that. I think the most important thing is your writing sample. And I can tell you my secret of reading the applications. I read each application several times, but for the first round, I just read the writing sample. And I don't look at any other informations. And then I have my favorite poets, and then I read the second round with all the other information to make sure, again, you are not a mean person and you are passionate and you are perseverant about this art, and we would love to have you. So again, writing sample is the most important thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, and the rest of it's boring to look at, right? Like it's a lot of like clicking for us. We have to click on this shitty software so that we want the reward of like, ooh, look, poems. Like I wanna read the poem. So yeah, that's definitely we look at that first. Start making those notes. Like I like know somebody's name and what the poems are, and then I'll have like a paragraph about what I'm thinking about their work, and then way later after I like sort through those, we look at the rest of the stuff. What else? What are you guys scared about that we can make you less scared about?
I wouldn't, well, I am actually very scared. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I am here about 2 or 3 years before I would actually apply because I'm very like, I want to know not everything. It's possible, not everything, but everything I can before I apply and meet before get the information I need. So, has anyone ever done that before? Just like have been like 2 or 3 years before they actually would apply to the program to see what it's like, test the waters. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got high school students that come to submit-a-thon sometimes. Like I work with I volunteer in this a girls' juvenile facility, and like those girls are already thinking about becoming a writer. So like they haven't even gone to, they're not done with high school. So yeah, you're kind of late, Jordan. Like you really should have started worrying about this when you were 12.
I know. I'm sorry. I was too anxious of a writer back then to even think about the future. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Valerie wants to come for a class visit. Yes, we do that all the time. Just email the program and tell us what class, if you want to see fiction or whatever workshop you want to go to, and then we'll figure it out. What else? Nobody else is scared of anything? Sweet. Anya has a hand up.
I have a slight fear just in that I feel like I'm going to be coming to this application straight out of 4 years of physics undergrad.
Sweet.
And I feel like I'm concerned about my like knowing slightly less about the craft itself than the people around me.
I'm not worried about that. Like I'm excited about what your physics background is going to bring to your writing.
And that's what
Hopefully
we are
something.
doing here. We're here to help you with your craft, with developing your voice, and that is the reason you are in an MFA. There's nothing to worry about. Yes.
Yeah, I don't. Anya, are you a fiction writer or a poet?
Fiction.
Yeah.
And I try to. I do have a lot of fun applying some of the knowledge I have from that to like sci-fi, but I worry sometimes that it's at the expense of good and like compelling writing. But I mean, I guess that's what this is for. So.
Yeah, that's what school's for. And that's what's
Mhm.
making friends in your cohort is for. And that's what reading is for. And that's what your professors are for. So, yeah, you're doing everything just right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl, you have your hand up.
I do. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I am interested in fiction and memoir. Like I love memoir and biography. How does that become part of this creative writing program?
Well, the degrees, like we only offer like a degree in poetry or a degree in fiction, but there's a
Yes,
memoir
understood.
class. Yeah, like you wouldn't get a degree in memoir, but there are memoir classes, and a lot of people find that, there's like auto fiction that's happening where they're mingling their memoir, with their poetry or with their fiction.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
great.
But yeah, that sort of would be my interest. I really don't have a lot of interest in poetry. So I definitely wouldn't take that route. So the fiction route, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. What else?
Jill, I have a question here that you might want to address. What is the major difference between your program and others in Boston, in the Boston area?
I think the 3-year thing is a big part of it. I think the relationship between UMass Boston and the community is a big part of it. That we're not like I got my degree at BU and I loved it, but it was only 1 year and I didn't get any training for the teaching that I was doing. And I worked in a literary magazine on campus, but I didn't work within the community. So I made my community connections later after graduate school. Hi, Valerie. Yes, Valerie's at BU in the MFA in literary translation. So yeah, What else?
I was going to type it, but does a teaching is it curriculum or workshop here? Does it help you teach a certain level of writer or just at the school?
So if you take I'll start answering your question, and when I get it wrong, you let me know. So that if you take the teaching of creative writing, and then you work with your cohort on developing your syllabus, and then you teach undergraduates, then you're teaching at UMass Boston. And then once you've got your MFA program, you've got your MFA degree, and you have this experience teaching, and you have a letter of rec from whoever observed you doing the teaching, then you're way ahead of everybody else who's applying for teaching jobs, because you've already done it and because you've got people who have watched you do it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And the teaching jobs apply for undergraduate, like teaching, right? Teaching undergrad classes.
So that, yes, say that again though. I'm still not sure that I understand your question.
When you say that you last part you said you're I guess
once you
qualified to teach others creative writing, does that mean the undergraduate level of teaching?
Yes. Yeah. Or,
Okay.
Whatever you want. There are definitely people who are high school teachers and interested in teaching younger people, or we have something called the Osher Longer Living, Later Living, OLLI. I can't remember what it stands for. It's like old people. So senior citizen classes that people teach, so that our students teach them. We also have people who they teach creative writing in their high school classes that they teach. But most of the people who are graduating with an MFA want to teach undergraduates at other institutions or at UMass Boston. And so some of them stick around. A lot of people stick around Boston and teach all over, as adjunct and sometimes as tenured. But tenure track, that happens around your publishing, not around your teaching experience.
Okay, thank you.
What else?
I'm wondering about the assistantship thing. Do we get any choice as to like what organization we're paired with, or like what's the application process there? Or
Yeah, so we list them all, and then you rank your choice, and then we try to fit everybody to what it is that they want to do, which usually works out pretty well.
okay, cool, thank you.
Yep. What else? Where are you guys? Jordan's in Alabama. Elizabeth, you're local?
Yes, I'm in Mattapoisett right now.
That counts. Eric's in Boston. Valerie's in Boston. Cheryl's in Fairhaven. Cambridge, Connecticut, Mass. Yeah, so yeah, everybody's. Jordan, you're the very furthest. Even further than Virginia. Oh, good job, Anya.
I cry about it every.
You cry that you're in Alabama?
Yes, yes, I do.
Sorry. Valerie came from California. Uh, yeah, I was undergrad at California and then came here. So it took me a while to understand about the socks. But once I got the wool socks, I was ready to go. Wool socks and I also I go to the Goodwill and I get cashmere sweaters and I darn them so that then and you can use them as like cashmere wrist. It's a lot of cashmere. Boston thrift stores are really big on cashmere, I assure you. What? Well, you need wool socks, Steve. But of course everybody's always rooting for the Red Sox. Yeah. Red wool socks. Wow, Cheryl. I mean, mention that in your essay, obviously. But like I could talk about my reading, but I could also just let you know about the socks I'm gonna knit you. Anya's gonna knit socks too. Oh my God, I'm gonna be like loaded up. Just send them straight with your application. Just drop the handmade wool socks off with your application, and it'll go to the top of the warm stack.
I probably also want to mention that our program is sort of interdisciplinary, that the poets can take fiction workshops and fiction writers can take poetry workshops, and oftentimes it's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, when I teach the documentary poetics class, we get people from both genres, and so people are. I mean, it's a documentary poetics class, but people are like writing short fiction pieces, and I'm like, that's a poem, and they don't think that counts, but I think it counts. So, yeah, it's just like researched writing, and everybody's working on their own project together. We had one woman who did like a whole series of poems about the molasses flood in Boston, which those local people might already know about, but Jordan, you might not know that back in the day there was this like huge tub of molasses and it busted open and there was a molasses flood all in the north end of Boston. And sometimes you feel like you can still smell the molasses, and a lot of people died. Like it was a terrible tragedy, but it's also just fucking crazy, right? Like people were running around trying to save each other while they're slogging through molasses. So she wrote a series of poems that was written like each one was about a person who had taken part in the like some of it were from the perspectives of the nurses and some were perspectives of people like kids who died in the accident. Like yeah, she wrote like a whole book of molasses flood poems, and that was just like what she chose to do with her documentary poetics time. Yes, the knit socks are good. I'm not so worried about the molasses anymore. It was definitely quicksand-esque. Yeah, except maybe a little faster. We got 10 minutes left. Other questions that I can answer? Xingyang, what else am I leaving out? It's a really beautiful campus. For a really long time, it was like just concrete blocks and depressing under construction mess. But now you're like, oh my God, they was spent all this time on the construction and now we're like right on the water. There's like you can take your students over to the beach. Like I walk along the water every day. I take the 41 bus from my house over to the JFK T stop, which is on the red line. And then you can get a shuttle bus to campus, but instead I walk and I'm like walking along the beach and it's so beautiful. It, Even when it's 0 degrees. I can't believe how beautiful it is to have the sun on the water like that. And
Yeah,
it's right
it's
there
really
every day.
And I take my student to the beach to do workshop when the weather is warm,
Yeah.
not
Yeah, there are
now.
these really cool blue Adirondack chairs out everywhere where you can like snuggle around and have class outside. Cheryl wants to know how many times each week are student on campus. The workshop is just 1 day a week. It's Tuesdays from 12:30 to 3:30, but it depends on what your other classes are. Like it's possible that you could just come on Tuesday, but most people have like a Tuesday, Thursday, and a Tuesday, or they, it depends on what classes you choose to take. Jordan's asking about script writing. I don't think we have had anybody that's doing that. Do you, Shane?
No.
I
We have
just helped an
cinematic
undergraduate who was applying
studies.
to a program in script writing in Chicago. So I know that there are programs out there, but we're not one of them. Sorry, Ying, I interrupted you.
No, nothing.
What else? I'm so excited you guys are gonna apply. I wish that, but you should all apply in poetry just to like, so I get to say hi. Just real quick, become a poet between now and February 2nd.
How often does the program change or not develop, but like change over time with the people who are in faculty or like the programs, classes change?
Yeah, I've been there since 2008. I came as a visiting writer, and then so I have not changed at all. Zero change for me, Jordan. I'm exactly the same person as I was in 2008.
I love
But yeah,
that.
then I like come up with different class, like the documentary poetics class was a new thing that I wanted to do. The writing about local issues, arts and culture was a new class that I developed. So yeah, I guess every couple years I like come up with, I'm like get a bee in my bonnet about what I feel like doing in the classroom, and then do that. So, and then the visiting writer, like every 1 or 2 years, there's a different fiction writer that comes in. We're going to be hiring a new poet eventually, but I don't know when. Xingying, how often, like you just got here, so that's
I
new.
just got here.
Yeah. So like
Yeah, and
how new could you be? How much could you change in that time?
vastly. I've been here 2 years, and yeah, I teach workshops. And also, as I said, if you're interested in something, like you want to learn something, you should let us know. And I this long poem class, and also I developed a class that was uh entirely on love poems, lyrical love poems, and the whole class, 15 weeks, it was imitating from the process of falling in love, unrequited love, falling in love, sex, betrayal, heartbreak, etc. So each week we enter a different stage of love for that class. It was mainly for undergraduate students, but I plan to make that a graduate class in future if possible. So if you're interested in something, you should let us know. And also, we have during the thesis time, I think it's a great opportunity for you to work with us, whatever your obsession is, and how that demonstrate in your writing.
Beautiful.
Wait, I have
Yeah.
one more question.
Yay.
What opportunities do MFA students have to possibly audit undergraduate classes? Because I'd like to get my French writing up to the point where I could do translation as well. Like I'm a very strong receptive or language, but my writing isn't that great. So is that something that can be accommodated?
Yes, there usually the way that happens is that you tell the faculty member that you're interested, and they are delighted to have you because everybody at UMass Boston loves the MFA students. So,
Okay.
yeah, and then because there's like formal ways that you can audit, but it costs money. So generally, like when someone like yourself is interested in doing something like that, you just ask. So yeah, to bring some homemade jam or some knit socks and like
Perfect.
bribe your way into whatever class you want to take for free.
How
And
about honey? Would honey be okay?
yes, you would. I'm confident that you would. Yes, Jordan too is. Everybody's got all of this knitting travel that they can help with, but yes, there's lots of ways that you can bribe your way into whatever you want to do at UMass Boston.
Thank you.
Sure. And on that beautiful sentiment, should we? Yes. I want to like all of you guys. Feel free to email me whenever